I hope you guys are having a great Monday. What's going on, everyone? Good mic work commentaries back at you for your WWE Raw review for August 22nd, 2022. The show just went off the air about 15 minutes ago. Pretty interesting show tonight from Toronto, headlined by the big Edge and Damien Priest main event. We also had Trish Stratus making an appearance here in her hometown. Looks like they got Kurt Angle booked for next week in Pittsburgh, so that might become a running theme with Triple H. If they're hitting a town where a Hall of Famer is from, they might bring him out there. So look for that more and more often, I guess. And, of course, probably the biggest news to come out of the entire show tonight was the surprising and shocking and out-of-the-blue return of Johnny Wrestling. Johnny Gargano back in WWE. He just tweeted a minute ago that he said he wanted to make it a surprise, and he has gone on record saying that whenever he comes back, he wants it to surprise people. And this was at no special time in the night. I think it was 15 minutes past the second hour. It was right after the commercial break, after the AJ and Lashley, Ciampa, and Miz match. Rebel Heart hits, and out walks Johnny Gargano to the ring, just like that, out of nowhere. And, of course, he was greeted by his old pal from NXT, Theory, which we will talk about that later on as we get into the Raw results here. But between, the Trish stuff, which is always great to see her, a really excellent main event between Damien Priest and Edge. We had a couple of really good one-on-one matches on the show as well with Dolph Ziggler and Finn Balor and Kevin Owens and Chad Gable. And I'm really liking the hard reset on Kevin Owens. Dude's got his old 2015 merch back on, and it looks like Triple H is back to presenting him as just this ass kicker, because that's what he was doing when he first showed up in WWE, just fighting everyone, coming out, annihilating people, power bombing people on aprons, that sort of stuff. And when he beat the hell out of Ezekiel a couple of weeks ago, and now he basically worked tonight as a babyface, it makes me really optimistic that maybe WWE can get on the right track with Kevin Owens, and there will be a world championship around his waist within the next 12 months. That would be a really great thing if that could happen. But overall, I thought the show was an easy watch. It wasn't difficult. It is such a nice breath of fresh air to not have to basically, force yourself to watch a wrestling show. I was genuinely curious because Toronto's always a hot town, although tonight they were a little quieter. It seemed like they didn't seem like the typical Toronto crowd, which a lot of times reminds me of Chicago, which is just super jacked. Tonight, they were hot for the opening brawl with Riddle and Rollins, but they kind of cooled off there, and they were really quiet, it seemed like, at least on TV, during Trish Stratus's promo. And I'm like, dude, these guys need to wake up, man. So they did. They had their moments on the show, but I think we have seen better Toronto crowds, to be honest with you. But I still thought the show was very good. I'm curious what you guys will grade it in terms of A, B, C, or D, or 0 through 10, but I'll probably give it like a 7, 7.5, something like that. I thought it was a good show, or a decent show. And like I said, there was some decent wrestling on here. I feel like we're getting fresh-ish or fresher matchups than we were getting before. And Triple H is looking like it at his talent roster and actually saying to himself, wow, it would be awesome if that guy faced that guy. I think that's why we're seeing Sheamus and Gunther at Clash of Castle. So I still see improvement in the WWE show. It's not as difficult to watch anymore, and it doesn't frustrate you to the degree that it used to. Now, there was a couple of predictable things here. That entire opening segment with Trish Stratus was the most predictable shit I've ever seen, but I didn't care because Trish was there doing Trish stuff and acting all Trish-like, and that's fine with me. But I even mentioned on the podcast on Saturday when we were previewing Raw, I said I would imagine that Trish will come out and be interrupted by Bayley and her crew. That just seems like exactly where they're going to go, and they did, and that whole segment was about as predictable as you can get in WWE. But I'm going to let it slide because Trish was there, and the rest of the show was not that bad at all. So we will talk about it. In the meantime, thumbs up button would be appreciated if you guys don't mind hitting that. If you're here and you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. And if you are a subscriber and you like it here, you got an opportunity to become a member now. You can do that by clicking the join button below or the link in the description of this video. Join the family, and you got access to a lot of perks that we'll be beginning next month with members-only videos, members-only streams. You guys are going to be voting on a lot of watch-alongs and get preferential treatment when it comes to making decisions here on the channel. And, you'll get several other perks as well. So if you would like to join join the family, you can do that now. Just click the link below, get all the information, and join us here on the channel because we would love to have you. But I just want your eyes and your ears and your subscription for the most part. So if you can give me that at the end of the day, that's all Greg needs. I'm very happy. Thank you to everyone who is here. I'm going to shout out everyone in the chat real quick, and then we'll start getting into the Raw results, and we'll see how much stuff we have to get into. A little bit, I think, light-ish on the wrestling news, although we do have a coming and going in WWE. Jeff Jarrett out, Road Dogg in. So we'll talk about that in a minute as well. I also want to welcome How Weezy, who joined the membership yesterday. I'm pretty sure I got you covered in your shout out there, How Weezy. But just in case, welcome to the Shoot Brothers family, and I'm glad that you are here with us now. Rarely Even is in the house as well. I did see Edge hitting the Canadian Destroyer tonight in the main event, which was incredible. Very interesting timing, too, I thought, with the main event, how perfectly that worked out with the biography of Edge last night on A&E. And WWE isn't really good at planning shit out that far, but I'm glad that somebody in that company said, hey, we're in Toronto on this day, so why don't we have Edge's bio air the night before? Which was perfect. And then, of course, the Beth Phoenix tie-in and all of that. Really cool to see Beth there. And the Edge biography on A&E last night was really good. We'll probably talk a little bit about that as well, even though I don't have a ton of notes on it. I'm just going by memory because I watched it at 3 o'clock in the morning last night. So we will get into that as well. Want to welcome Zach Pelgett is here as well, moderator and family member. Good to see Rodrigo and Destiny and Timothy, Zane G, Deshaun Robinson, Divine Ricks. Good to see more Monkey Wrenches and family members in here. I updated some more emojis if you guys want to use them. I've got a Winged Eagle belt in there. I got the Dancing Vince, and we'll add more to it as we go. Timothy Hawkins is here. Good to see you, my friend. Khalid, Jay Lambo, Lil Low Justin. I always say that wrong. Sinister Terrain, 89. Good to see you. James, Big J, K-Dog's Kennel. Thank you very much for that Twitter update today on your leg and your ultrasound and all that stuff. Very good news and happy to hear that. And very happy you're here tonight. We also have Yachiro and Joshua in the house. Trey Williams is back. Kevin, Nick Musser is in the house as well. Good to see a lot of Monkey Wrenches, a lot of family members. That's awesome. Max Pokebra and JJ Leg, more channel members in the house. And so is George Morris, chiming in with his usual $5. And George is also a family member as well. Hey, Greg, how are you doing? Raw 0 out of 10. Sorry I missed last night's watch-along. Jessica from Karate Kid 3, rumored for Cobra Kai Season 5. That would be so weird for that. She's the red-haired girl that he didn't even date in that movie. They were just friends, right? She was such a small part of that franchise. I can't even imagine bringing her back. If you're looking at that realistically, if you're Daniel, I probably wouldn't even remember her. You know, like I'd probably see her like, oh, where do I know you from? Oh yeah, that's right. We were friends for like 3 weeks. You know, that like I would barely even remember that. So it would be weird if they brought her back. But the trailers for season 5 look great. I'm just loving Johnny and Chosen fighting side by side. And it looks like Daniel might fight Terry Silver. There's a spot in that, there's a clip in the trailer where he's got some bloody knuckles and he's not clean shaven and he looks like angry dark Daniel, which is pretty cool. So there's going to be enough good shit in season 5, I think, to hold us over. All good on the watch along last night. We did SummerSlam 2000. I was at that show in Raleigh. One of the lowest view counts we've had for any watch along. So kind of weird, but seemed like we had our normal group in here last night, and it was really fun to watch that. And of course, yesterday was our double duty day because I had the technical issues on Saturday, which luckily I have cleaned up and cleared up. We should not have that problem anymore. So I made up for the podcast yesterday ahead of the watch along. So we were up here for 2 videos yesterday, and we are going to be up here on Wednesday. We have to watch the Jon Moxley and CM Punk match together. I'm so curious what's going to happen there, if they're going to tie in an MJF return to this. A lot of fun stuff behind the scenes today when Being the Elite was released, and they did address that. Hangman Page did address it. So if you haven't seen Being the Elite, it was pretty cool. But Hangman is back there coaching the Dark Order, and I don't know, somebody comes in the door. I'm like, hey, man, Punk is in the ring. You need to get out of there. He's like, shut the fuck up. Get the hell out of here now. So it looks like they're all kind of making jokes about it. Dax Harwood also referenced that CM Punk is not well-liked backstage, and CM Punk himself even posted on Instagram yesterday about his year anniversary, maybe on Saturday, about his year anniversary in the company and that he's still as happy as he's ever been and all that stuff. So we will see what happens on Wednesday, but I'm curious about it. Angie Law is in the house. Good to see you as well. Sonic Plays, Sleeping Angels, and K-Dog's Kennel chiming in with the $10. Thank you, dude, for being here. Want to start the show tonight by sincerely thanking you, Greg, and this incredible chat we have for the kind words and support these last few months. I truly wouldn't be here without it. So glad to hear that, Kevin. Kevin's been dealing with a few health issues in his leg, been in and out of doctor's offices and appointments and ultrasounds and things like that. Looks like they've been working on the issue for quite some time, and you provided some really good news today that you are no longer considered a high risk, and that's awesome. And I'm really glad that you got that under control and getting it taken care of, and we're thrilled to hear about it, man. I appreciate the update as always, and thank you very much for being here. Soul Brother, number 5, WWE 2K22 is the only game to be released outdated. Just be updated without the use of downloadable content or a complete in-game roster overhaul for a few months later. I wish I knew anything, Soul Brother, about modern video games, but you must be new here. I joke about it all the time that I'm a complete idiot when it comes to modern video games, so I don't know what any of what you just said means in English. So if you guys want to chat WWE 2K, feel free to do that with Soul Brother. Sorry, I am just more of a Contra and Super Mario Brothers 2 type of guy. It's all I really do. Good to see Mab in here as well. Mr. Jason Beetle 911, Arkansas Baby. These are some interesting names. I like it. Mike Witt's in the house. Good to see you. Making sure I got all my channel members as well if I missed anybody. Oh, damn it. Now I lost my spot. Oh, there we go. Now we're back. Hollywood Guy is here. Kevin, I think I got you. Steven, I got you. ABJ in here for the first time. ABJ, make sure you subscribe. Please do that. I would love to have you. William Cullen is in the house. Rarely Evelyn, I'm pretty sure I got you. And he's asking Edge, Ray, and Beth versus Priest, Balor, and Rhea Ripley at Clash. It seems like they're pushing in that direction. I figured that Beth would have to get involved once Rhea Ripley is beating the shit out of poor Dominic every week. And the Mysterios were not on Raw tonight. So I think that doing something at the Clash Beth-related seems like, I mean, she's going to have to get in the ring and come face-to-face with Rhea Ripley. We might get Beth and Rhea Ripley one-on-one, and if we got that, Beth should put her over, to be honest. I mean, if Beth, there's no reason for Beth to win. It's like, you know, when Trish fought Charlotte. You know, it was a great match, and we all love Trish, but Charlotte should have won, and she did. So I think it should be the same for Beth and Rhea Ripley, because Rhea is a beast. She's big. She's strong. She's impressive looking. Imagine like prime Beth Phoenix versus modern Rhea Ripley. That would be whatever a female hoss fight is. That's what that would be. And it would be great. So I wouldn't even mind if they faced each other one-on-one and Beth put her over. And then Edge maybe wins his match, or maybe he puts over Priest when this whole thing is over. Because based on what we saw tonight, you got to think that this issue isn't resolved between Judgment Day and Edge. There you go. How Wheezy using them new emojis put in there for the members. That's awesome. Chris Barrera in the house as well. Another member. Happy to see you here. And I should have gotten just about everybody. I think I got to do another super chat and welcome a channel member in here. Just want to make sure I get everybody. I hate when I miss stuff. Joshua Aparicio, welcome, my friend, to the family. You have been a big participant in these chats for a long time. Very happy you joined. And like I said, if you would like to join the family here and become a member, you can do so. Click and join under this video. Also a link in the description that will take you over to that, where you can be a member of our family, and there's going to be perks starting next month. We're going to do monthly watch-alongs on a Raw or Nitro, or basically anything that you guys want to watch that's available on Peacock, and you guys are going to be making a lot of decisions for me in members-only posts. I'm going to put up polls. Hey, I got a watch-along plan this Sunday. It's down to these 4 shows. Which one's it going to be? Let you guys choose that, and even just take flat-out recommendations from you guys. So you will be receiving perks once the memberships really get going. We're only 2 weeks deep, and we've already had a really good amount of subscribers or members join, and we've surpassed by a lot what we were already doing on Patreon. So thank you very much to everyone who has joined up with the memberships in the last couple of weeks. All right, so that should take care of the bullshit. We have to talk about stuff. We have to talk about wrestling. We have to talk about stuff that happened on TV, like Monday Night Raw tonight. Live from Toronto, looked like a pretty good crowd. Spaz Phoenix, who is usually here in the chat, super chatting and commenting away. He was at the show tonight and had basically the exact same seats that I had when I went to Raw after SummerSlam last year here in San Diego, just right on the side of the Titantron. Basically, you're behind the Tron, like right on the side of it, near the entrance ramp there. So you have a perfect shot of the entrance, but you're almost like a little bit behind the screen. And that's where he was tonight as well. So hopefully he had a good time. It did sound like the crowd was a little quiet on TV, but maybe in the arena it was a completely different story. When I went to Double or Nothing, I thought the Vegas crowd was jacked. And as I was looking through Twitter from my seat, I was hearing people or reading people say, oh, the crowd seems dead. I'm like, I'm right here in the middle of it, and everybody's going nuts. So I do understand that it just sometimes does come off differently on TV. But for a while there, I thought Corpus Christi might have invaded Toronto because it was a little bit quiet. A little bit of news going around in WWE today before we get into Monday Night Raw. Road Dogg has been rehired by WWE. And as we learned yesterday, basically during the podcast, I think somebody informed me in the chat that Jeff Jarrett was out of WWE as in his position as Senior Vice President of Live Events. At the time, I don't think we knew if he was quit or let go, but it looks like WWE let him go. I have not read up on why or if there's any reason given or why his spot in the company and holding that position was so short-lived. I don't know if it had something to do with Triple H. You can't just fire somebody and replace them with somebody else. I mean, there's got to be some protection there. So there must have been something that wasn't working out with Jeff Jarrett, or maybe he just wanted to leave. Don't really know, but Jeff Jarrett is no longer Senior Vice President of Live Events. That is now the Road Dogg's job, as he was hired back today and will be assuming the role that Jeff Jarrett just gave up. So just like we saw Jeff Jarrett bounce out of WWE in 1995, and then the real Jesse James shows up in 96 and starts singing "Spend My Days," now we're seeing Jeff Jarrett leave WWE, Road Dogg coming back in to take his place, the real Jesse James. Anyway, that's going on in WWE. A little bit surprising that they brought Road Dogg back, but Triple H, you know, he's been a Road Dogg guy. He's always taken care of Road Dogg. Road Dogg has been trying to get hired by AEW. Road Dogg is kind of dumb. I don't really like him, to be honest with you. I don't dislike him. It's just, I don't know. I don't know what he can really offer. He's just, I don't know. There's something about Road Dogg just off-putting. I did like him in the DX bio, the way he was mowing his lawn the whole time. So he is back now in WWE. He'll be heading up some live events and whatnot, and we'll keep our eye on that and figure out if we know any of the story behind Jeff Jarrett bouncing out of there. But, yeah, Road Dogg's back where he's comfortable. Best of luck to him, and best of luck to WWE and all this working out with him. But let's get into Monday Night Raw tonight. Like I said, show was in Toronto. They were plugging this pretty heavily last week because we knew the main event was going to be Edge versus Damien Priest. Plus, we had Trish Stratus making an appearance, which I thought was going to be mostly for fun. I did not think she was going to be setting up any kind of match tonight, although she did tease it. But I figured it was more of just her being in her hometown. It is kind of funny when they go to these towns. Most of the time, the talent probably doesn't live there anymore. Like next week, they're going to be in Pittsburgh, and Kurt Angle is going to be there, but I don't know. I don't even know. I might be wrong, but does Angle live in Pittsburgh? Did he move back there? Like, if I make it big and I become a celebrity or make millions of dollars, I ain't going to where I lived. I ain't living there, especially if it's a place like Pittsburgh or something. I'm moving to Florida. I'm moving to California. I'm moving to the beach. I'm moving somewhere nice. So I don't know if he's in Pittsburgh or not, but even tonight in Toronto, you know, Edge and Beth had to make the trip up from North Carolina, where they live, to go to Toronto, Edge's hometown. So we'll see if that's going to become a theme. And even with Trish, I'm assuming she probably still lives in Toronto, but maybe she doesn't. I don't know. Anyway, Raw opened up tonight with basically no intro. We kind of had a cold open, and it was right to Gorilla, where Rollins and Riddle are brawling with each other. So they're really doing a slow burn on these guys. You know, there hasn't been a lot of your typical in-ring back and forth on the mic segments between these guys. They have just been kicking the shit out of each other any chance they get. So the show opens up with them fighting. They fight, I think, down into the entranceway, into the crowd. They brawl up the crowd. There's a big pull apart. They've got Rollins on the outside of the barricade. They've got Riddle sequestered in the fans, and then Riddle breaks away, gets a running start, does a big dive over the barricade onto Rollins and onto all the officials, and they basically have to be torn apart and pulled apart from each other, and that's how the show opened up. And then right when the brawl was over and both guys were separated and removed from the premises, then we get the pyro. The pyro goes off, and we get kind of like the Raw intro, which was pretty funny. And then we open up with Trish Stratus. So Trish opens up the show, perfect thing to do, because the crowd was already hot for the brawl. To bring Trish out there, I thought they would be super hot. They were for her entrance, but they immediately cooled down as soon as she started talking. It was really weird. And what was funny about this is it was just so predictable. We basically laid out this whole segment on yesterday during the podcast. I'm like, what's going to happen is Trish is going to come out, and then Bayley, who's a big heel and can talk real well. That's what you always do in these situations. The legend comes out and some real good shit-talking heel comes out and confronts him. It's happened every time. So Trish is out there. She talks about how Toronto is her home and how this ring is her home and how it's great to be back and blah, blah, blah. And then out comes Bayley. Her music hits. She comes out with Io Sky and Dakota Kai. And the four of them have kind of been working segments, I think, across Canada on the house shows over the weekend, right? There was something going on between them, between Trish and Bayley on the house shows more than once, and Bayley referenced this. Excuse me. I almost had a sneeze there. And Bayley referenced what they've been doing at the live events. So I haven't seen any of that footage, but they have been doing this a little bit. And basically talk shit to Trish. Trish alludes to the fact that, yes, she is retired, but she could always become unretired, and then takes her jacket off, and then Bayley takes hers off, and then Bayley starts yapping on the mic and says, I don't know, just insults her a few times, and it was so, perfect. In my mind, as soon as Bayley finished her sentence, or maybe it was Trish that finished talking, as soon as one of them finished talking, I started singing Bianca Belair's theme because I knew she was coming out. Oh, yeah, that's right, because I think it was no, it must have been Trish. Bayley didn't make the line until Bianca got there. So Bianca comes out to back up Trish and kind of backs off Bayley a little bit. But Bayley's like, hey, there's three of us and there's only two of you, which is a really idiotic thing to say because if Bayley has any brains in her head, she should know that Bianca's been hanging out with Asuka and Alexa Bliss lately. And, of course, they are going to be facing her two friends in the tag team title tournament. And sure enough, Alexa Bliss's music hits, and now it's 4 against 3. And, of course, Bayley backs off. Okay, whatever, we'll do it another time. Peace out. We'll see you at the Clash. And then we get the tag team tournament match. Io Sky, Dakota Sky. I cannot say these two names together. Io Sky and Dakota Kai taking on Alexa Bliss and Asuka. I don't want them to win the tag team titles because I don't want to have to say their names together, but they're going to win it. And they did. Io pins Asuka, kind of like a little schoolboy-ish roll-up with a lot of extra shit going on. Didn't really super catch it, but she got the win there. I was never expecting this to go any other way other than Io Sky and Dakota Kai winning the tag team titles. That's what's going to happen. It's not going to go any other way in my mind. And we even saw some other news today that Toxic Attraction, who was a last-minute replacement for Zoe Stark and Nikita Lyons in the tournament, who got a victory last week on SmackDown, Gigi Dolan got injured. So now Toxic Attraction is out of the tournament, and I believe they announced that this Friday on SmackDown there's going to be a second chance opportunity for another team that's been eliminated to get back in. So I think all of this is just done for nothing. If you ask me, don't even do a tournament. Just bring Io Sky and Dakota Kai on the bump and give them the titles. There, you're the champions now. That's all we need to do. This tournament's a fucking mess. And they probably should have at least waited on it, rethought maybe some of the teammates a little bit, or, like I said, just take a little bit more time to plan this out better because there's certainly no rush to bring the belts back. They were a fucking joke as it was. So why rush to bring them back? And, unless you just want to get new champions crowned. That's probably Triple H's thinking on this, just to get new champions crowned so they can continue with those titles and try to put all the messy stuff that went on with Naomi and Sasha behind them. That's probably his mindset, but these tournaments are always so just mangled looking, and especially at the end when you kind of know there's only one team that should really come out of the finals of this with the belts, and that's Io Sky and Dakota Kai. So they beat Alexa and Asuka and move on in the tournament. Then we got a really good match and a really interesting beginning to the match between Dolph Ziggler and Finn Balor. So we're basically, I guess, at Gorilla, and Dolph and Balor are doing an interview, and Finn's talking shit to Dolph, and then Dolph just basically bitch slaps or punches Balor. Who's with Rhea Ripley. Balor falls, and then Dolph Ziggler's music hits, and he starts leaving to go to the ring. And then this is all taking place at Gorilla. And then he comes back, and he peeks through the curtain, and he goes, "You going to get off your ass? Or are you going to come to the ring? Or are you going to sit there like a little bitch?" I've never seen anything like that. That was actually pretty funny to me. We've seen fights and scuffles on camera and even interviews on camera in Gorilla, but to see an interview and then one guy bitch slap another to where he falls on his ass, then his music hits and he starts to leave to go out to the ring, and then he comes back and he's like, "You gonna get off your ass and meet me in the ring, you little bitch," or whatever he said, was so hysterical to me. I don't know why, but it's definitely a segment that I haven't seen before. It wasn't set up the same way. Even the camera angle on Dolph, like when he came back in through the curtain, I don't know why that tickled me so much, but I thought it was great. So Balor gets his ass up. Looks like he's got a new entrance as well. New music for Finn Balor. It's okay. I like this demon shit, but looks like Finn has got new music. So I always thought the Judgment Day was all going to use the same music, but maybe they're going to have individual stuff. And Balor comes out. Excellent in-ring match with him and Dolph Ziggler. Really good. Two of the best in the game. I enjoyed it a lot. A lot of near falls here, a lot of close calls, but based on what we saw on Gorilla, you don't just bitch slap somebody the level of talent of Finn Balor and then go out and beat him as well. So I kind of had a feeling Finn was going to get the win here. He did. Rhea Ripley wound up jumping up on the apron, decks Dolph Ziggler in the face. Balor's able to take control, hit the coup de grace on Dolph Ziggler for the win, and Judgment Day was on a roll heading into that main event match with Damien Priest and Edge. It was pretty funny, too, backstage at Gorilla. I don't know which one's older than the other, but they're like a year apart. And I think Dolph is older, and Balor called him kid or something like that. It's like, aren't we the same age? And I think Balor called Ziggler kid, but Ziggler's older than him, so that was kind of funny. So, very good match there between those two. A match that wasn't so good is going to be coming up later. Backstage, we see Bayley with her crew, and she is challenged to wrestle by Aaliyah. We have not seen Bayley wrestle in the ring. I don't think she did anything on the house shows. We have not seen her back in the ring yet. I was thinking we wouldn't see her back in the ring until Clash at the Castle, and here she's just randomly challenged by Aaliyah, and she's cool with it. She says, "All right, I'll see you out in the ring." So, we'll get that one in a little bit. Then we get a pretty funny match between Kevin Owens and Chad Gable. Chad Gable and Otis come out to the ring, and Gable alludes to the fact that he might be doing a little bit of recruiting. So this is exciting. They should add members to Alpha Academy, and I think it would also be a great opportunity to add somebody from NXT. If that's really what Gable was hinting at here, I wouldn't take someone from the main roster and put them in Alpha Academy. I'd take an NXT person for sure. So place your bets who that person could be, or offer suggestions who you think in NXT, because I don't follow the brand as closely as I used to, who there would be a perfect fit to come in and be a part of Alpha Academy, unless there is somebody floating around on the main roster that would fit there, but I can't really think of anybody, other than somebody that's just been floundering, and then you stick them there and it's really no better. But anyway, they go on, or Gable goes on to issue his open challenge. We're going to have an open challenge tonight. Anybody who wants to come down, come on down. And of course, who answers the challenge but Kevin Owens? Kevin Owens is rocking his old school merch. He's gone back, thrown back to when he came in with the big KO duct tape looking shirt. Looks like his character is going to kind of act that way as well, the way he annihilated Ezekiel a couple of weeks ago, and then coming out here answering Chad Gable's challenge, having a heck of a match with Chad Gable. Hit a beautiful long frog splash on him at one point, which was really good, and actually won the match with his pop-up powerbomb. As cool as the stunner was, and I enjoyed Kevin Owens using the stunner, I think I like the pop-up powerbomb more as a finisher, and it was great to see him use that again. Owens gets the win. After the match, he's attacked by Otis, and I was starting to think that since we're in Canada, Owens did not get quite the reaction in Toronto that I think Sammy got on Friday in Montreal. But I was thinking that maybe Sammy could run out there and make the save, but I don't think it's time for that yet. Both these guys are doing their own stuff, and this is only Otis and Chad Gable. I think Owens can handle himself. He did. He recovers and beats the shit out of both of them. So Owens looks to be back to his old ways, and it's great, great, great to see that. And like I said, I want a belt around that dude's waist, a world championship around his waist within the next 12 months. They better. They damn well better. After that, we have the Bayley and Aaliyah match that was set up a couple of segments ago backstage, and it wasn't good. I mean, it's great to see Bayley back in the ring again, but I don't know. There's something a little bit off on the match. Bayley won with the rose plant. That was fine. Of course, she was going to win. Aaliyah looked, maybe it was Aaliyah that was a little bit off, because I swear when the camera cut to her, I think she made her entrance and had to do the thing where she's in the ring the whole time or something during the commercial. And when they come back to the ring and they kind of have a close-up of her, it looked like she was getting a little emotional. Maybe she was just out there. There's a lot of people. She's in the ring. She's having Bayley's first return match or first match back. So maybe it got to her, it became a little overwhelming, and she got a little choked up over it. But then after the match, after she goes down, she was also crying. And it looked legit. These didn't look like fake tears. Wrestlers are not good actors, so usually when they are expressing real emotion, you can tell. And it looked like Aaliyah was crying there, and she was doing a good job of selling the defeat, but maybe just the match, I don't know, meant a lot to her, but the match wasn't wonderful. So it was what it was. Welcome back, Bayley, though. First match in 14 months, so naturally she might be a little bit rusty. Then we got a big tag team match with a bunch of old dudes with a bunch of old dudes in it. We have 46-year-old Bobby Lashley teaming up with 45-year-old AJ Styles to take on Ciampa and The Miz. And when Lashley and AJ were making their way to the ring and the camera was on them backstage, they just looked like two studs, two humongous megastar wrestlers, legends, Lashley and AJ next to each other, walk into the ring to face Ciampa and Miz. And we were wondering, or at least I was wondering prior to this match, if we would see more of Dexter Lumis, and we did, or at least we thought we did right away. So AJ Styles finds himself during the match on the outside of the ring, and he is attacked or grabbed from behind by another man in a mask, or another man in a hood. Security swarms the man, starts pulling him away, but his hood comes off, and it wasn't Dexter Lumis. It was somebody else. Didn't recognize him as anybody that's in NXT or on TV currently. He might be a new recruit. He might be an extra. He might be somebody that hasn't even really been used yet on TV, but nobody could recognize him. His face reminded me a little bit of Psychosis in WWE. I mean, a much younger version of him. This person was very, very young. And I thought that maybe it was Psychosis, but it wasn't. And that was kind of just a decoy, because over on the other side of the barricade, on the other side of the ring, you've got The Miz leaned up against the barricade, and there's a dude in riot gear who then stands up, removes his helmet, and it's Dexter Lumis. He grabs The Miz by the throat, yanks him, pulls him over the barricade, and just drags him through the people and away. Dexter Lumis has abducted The Miz. So he leaves, the bell rings, Ciampa is left in the ring alone to get his ass kicked by Bobby Lashley. I think he eats a spear. And it's no contest. Referee just throws the match out, and The Miz is missing. So we got to check police reports or anything going on in the Toronto area. Maybe a Mountie on a horse is caught up with Dexter and Miz, and I don't know what Dexter's going to do with Miz. I pray for his butthole. Hopefully everything is okay, but The Miz has now been abducted. So what does this mean? We mentioned last week that I wasn't completely sold on the fact that Dexter is targeting AJ, because every time that he's come out there, AJ has also been out there with The Miz. So I was thinking maybe Dexter is targeting The Miz for some reason, since they've both been present every time. But when the one guy grabbed AJ and then Miz gets abducted, that could possibly mean that. Maybe it is Miz who Dexter is targeting, or maybe it's a bigger picture here. Maybe they're targeting the company for some reason. But they're only appearing in AJ Styles and Miz matches. So that's what's weird. I think if these guys, because I mentioned on Twitter tonight, like maybe Triple H is trying to do like another retribution thing. I was thinking the first guy might be another released talent, somebody that was let go from NXT or NXT UK, but we didn't recognize him. Nobody recognized him. So At first I was thinking, sorry. At first I was thinking that maybe Triple H is going to give another shot at the horribly failed Retribution angle by doing it again, by taking more release talent and bringing them back and having them be a menace or a nuisance. But that's likely not what's going on here, since Miz and AJ seem to be the ones targeted. They're always present during all of this. So we'll have to see what this means for the Miz, what the Miz says next week if he does turn up and he comes back on TV and he's able to escape Dexter Lumis and he can explain where he was and what happened to him and his butthole. I hope everything is okay. But what is going on? Is this a faction? Is this guy that we saw, the first guy, just a decoy and we're never going to see him again? Doesn't matter. Basically, it doesn't matter who he is. Everybody's like, oh my God, who is he? Who is he? It might not matter who he is. This might be just a decoy that Dexter Lumis used for this one night, and he's not going to be a part of any faction or team or anything like that at all. And maybe it's possible, too, that when security grabbed him, maybe his hoodie and his hood wasn't supposed to come off. It just did. So you would think they would almost get somebody with lighter hair or looked a little bit more like Lumis. So I'm not sure where any of that is going to go, but it is interesting, the timing of a lot of these segments, because right after this happens, bell rings, disqualification, Miz is kidnapped, we go to commercial, we come back. We might have not gone to commercial. I don't know what we did. We had some sort of a break. We either went backstage for something stupid or we went to commercial. When we come back, out of the blue, out of nowhere, Rebel Heart comes on the Tron. Music starts playing. Johnny Gargano has returned to WWE, comes right through the entranceway, walks to the ring, and he's back. Right after, we saw his former DIY tag team partner in a match, and his another guy, Dexter Lumis, who he has had history with in NXT from the way when Dexter was trying to get with Indy Hartwell and all of that. And I don't know, where's Indy? What is she doing these days? She's still in NXT, right? They didn't release Indy Hartwell, did she? Somebody give me an Indy Hartwell update. I don't even know what she's doing right now. But let's get her involved in this somehow. So I was like, well, he's coming out right after that. I had pitched weeks ago, or maybe a couple weeks ago, when Dexter came back. I'm like, what if Dexter is here to be a part of, or being a catalyst to reunite the Way? I pitched an idea of Theory coming out with his briefcase, and then a big swerve where Gargano has reunited the Way. He might have Candice be brought back in there, maybe Indy, and maybe they even accept Dexter Lumis into the crew. It'd be fun to see that group on main roster TV, but I don't know. I don't feel it. And Gargano comes out to the ring, just comes out there. Fucker just walks out there with his music. It was great. Fans didn't even really know, because there was like a wide shot of the audience when his music started hitting, and you kind of see at first a few people are standing up going like, holy shit, and then the audience kind of realizes what's happening and starts cheering harder. It was pretty funny. Gargano comes out and says that he almost didn't return to wrestling, wasn't sure if he was going to return to wrestling, and didn't know when or where he would come back. But as we've seen, and has been a theme with several wrestlers lately, is it seems like their children are big motivations for them. And we've seen this in AEW, we've seen this in WWE, we've seen this with Cody, we've seen this with Hangman Page, we've seen this with Bryan Danielson, with The Miz. There's been a lot of wrestlers who are using their... Edge is another guy who we saw last night on the documentary or the biography. There's a lot of people that use their children as their motivation. And to me, that's a big difference from the 80s. I'm not saying people in the 80s didn't love their kids or anything, and I'm not even saying that wrestlers didn't work as hard as they could so their kids could benefit and have a roof over their head and be fed and all of that. But for the most part, you always hear stories from the children of these people of saying their dad was never home. I had no relationship with him. Ric Flair never used his children as inspiration. His children were a nuisance to him. I'm sure he loved them. Of course he loves them. But, they were probably all accidents. I'm just saying. I don't think Ric Flair, is outwardly, trying to start families and shit based on his lifestyle. So I think that a lot of yesterday's generation ignored their kids a little bit more than today's generation really makes them, uses them as inspiration, uses them for motivation. I want my children to see me do this. you never heard about that from 80s wrestlers. A lot of them just didn't have great relationships with their families and stuff. So I appreciate that you have promos from guys like this, and you have Johnny Gargano saying, I came back because I want to show my child that dreams can come true, because Johnny Gargano, doesn't really have the typical size of a professional wrestler, so he was going to be somebody facing an uphill battle to get to his dream, and he accomplished that. So he wants to pass off this knowledge and and this stuff to his kid, and he's using that as motivation to get back in the ring. He seems pretty white meat babyface at this point, to be honest, but I think that's what fans need on the first night. And it didn't take him long to be interrupted by Theory, which was an obvious choice to interrupt Gargano here. And Theory comes out. Gargano, Johnny looks happy to see him and is smiling a little bit, but that Theory's going to come out and be an asshole, and of course he was. Passively, aggressively insulting Johnny Gargano. Wow, you had all these dreams to be the Intercontinental Champion, the U.S. Champion, and I guess you could say that I've accomplished everything you wanted to do, and I'm only 24 years old. You could look at me as the veteran now and you the rookie. And I think Gargano knows that Theory is now a douchebag, so he pretends to go along with this, and they want to do their old high five. And you could tell by the way Johnny was standing that Theory is going to be swallowing his shoe. And he did. Super kicked him right in his fat face. And that was the end of Theory. And Johnny Wrestling is back in WWE. So sounds like he's here to wrestle and win championships. Sounds like good enough reason to come back to me. Doesn't it to you? And I'm happy to see him there. I was always worried and concerned about Johnny Gargano on the main roster. As good as he was in NXT, I was at TakeOver a few years back to watch him and Aleister Black have a phenomenal match for the title. He is so stupidly good, but I always worried about him and Ciampa, for that matter, on the main roster. And I really worried about them on the main roster when you have an idiot like Vince McMahon in charge, that it's immediately going to want to dress him up like fucking Ronald McDonald or something. So I was always terrified for him on the main roster, and when he left, I was happy he did. I'm like, AEW is probably the better place for him. Holy shit, that's a different story now. You got Triple H heading up the main brand, and his buddy Shawn Michaels heading up the NXT brand, both of which are huge Johnny Gargano fans. It makes a lot of sense that Johnny would come back, and if he's going to be Johnny Wrestling again, and if he's going to, provide great in-ring wrestling, that's all I really need out of the guy. But Johnny is entertaining, and he does have a fair amount of charisma, and he can be funny. So I would like to... I don't want Johnny Gargano to be what Chad Gable is, but I do think Gargano can have a big entertainment factor to him if he's put in the right situations. But if they're going to bring him back at first just to be babyface Johnny Wrestling, that's going to be his introduction onto the main roster, that's fine, but that's probably going to change in time. He'll probably go heel or something, and you just want to avoid somebody like Gargano falling into a Gable or Ali or Drew Gulak or some sort of rut like that, where they're so good and so talented, but they're just not being used properly. So I think having Triple H there, you just have a much better chance. I'm not saying that anybody that was a Triple H guy or anybody that was in NXT, when they come to the main roster, are going to be automatically successful and automatically utilized well. That's not the case. There's going to be mistakes made. Hopefully, though, with Gargano, I feel a hell of a lot more comfortable with the usage of him and his career with somebody like Triple H, who has so much history with Gargano, than I would if Vince was there, somebody who doesn't even know how to spell Gargano. He probably doesn't even know this guy's his last name's Wrestling. No, Vince. It's Gargano. Oh, how do you spell that? He's just stupid. So I think that Gargano is so much safer under Triple H than he would have been Vince McMahon, and he must have seen that too, because it was enough for him to sign a contract and come back to WWE. I hope this begins the process of bringing Candice LeRae back as well. Of course, she's a mom now, so it just depends on what the Garganos want to do. If she wants to do what Becky does, or do what a lot of women who have had babies do and come back and wrestle, then I want her to. But if she's content being a stay-at-home mom, that's totally fine too. But eventually, would be really cool to see Candice come back into the fold. Before we get to the main event, let me cruise back over here to the chat, knock out some super chats, and say hi to Spaz Phoenix, I believe, who was here. You were at the show tonight. I loved your seats that you had, dude, because I was sitting at the same spot when I was at Raw in San Diego last year, and I thought it was an interesting seats to have. I never quite sat over there before, and just like you, I was kind of like behind the Titantron a little bit and could see a lot of behind-the-scenes shit back there, which was pretty cool. But anyway, Spaz is back. Thank you very much, dude, for the $7. Finally on my bud home. Maybe that means way. Trips knows his bread is buttered in Toronto. Toronto's a great city, man. I'm glad that you're on your bud home. I hope that works out for you. Spaz, did you... Indy is on NXT. Thank you for that. She is on NXT, so she's still there. She's still there. Thank you for the Indy Hartwell updates. I really like her, and they should get her up on the main roster. She's got a lot of size to her, too. She's tall as shit. I like her. Anyway, thank you for the update. Spaz is back with 7 more bucks. Massive faction. Johnny, Tommy Chomps, Candice LeRae, Indy, and Theory and Dex. I kind of pitched something like that just a few minutes ago when we were talking about that segment. I'm like, they could bring them all back and get even Dexter in there. Because at some point, they got to reunite him and Indy. Aren't they married? Didn't they get married? What's the storyline there? Help me out there. Are they still technically married? I know they did the wedding, right? Didn't they do the wedding when Dexter had the axe or whatever? That wedding went off without a hitch, right? Didn't they actually get married? But then Dexter got released, and then what, they had to pretend that it never happened? I don't know how that worked. Or if they got a divorce, or if it was annulled. I don't know what's going on, but they got to revisit that. I think Triple H will. He has to. What's up, a WWE fan for life? You changed your YouTube channel name. Isn't that what it was before? WWE fan for life? Greg, Vince McMahon's smarter than Triple H. Well, there might be a version of Vince McMahon that I could believe is perhaps smarter than Triple H, but not 2022 version. I mean, how can you read that shit about Vince and even defend him for a minute? That blows my mind. It blows my mind. Dude's a damn fool. And he was a big problem in WWE, and he was really hurting the TV viewership. He was really hurting the television interest in Raw and SmackDown and everything. He was everything we watched was so mind-numbingly boring that a change needed to happen. And then now we get that nice breath of fresh air. It's so nice. I cannot imagine somebody watching this product now and saying, it was way better under Vince. What the fuck are you smoking? And can I have some? Oh, it was WWE fan forever, Greg. Okay, well, now it's for life, forever. It's the same thing. But I'm glad you changed it, and I hope it's brought you peace. Yeah, so they're still married. So I don't know if they're going to... Oh, Loomis sent a love letter to Indy on NXT, like a recent episode, Max, of NXT. That's cool. Good. See, Triple H, he's not going to pretend shit didn't happen, and that's another cool thing. I think the booking will be a little bit more cohesive with Triple H as well, and they won't start just, unless they're forced to for some reason, they're not just going to drop issues and pretend they never happened at all, or just say, let's abandon the storyline in the middle of it, change both of their names and characters and gimmicks and outfits and music, because that's the type of shit they were doing before. And now it seems like that's less of a possibility. I thought they already did the couples therapy. They didn't do that, Index? Anyway, let's get into the main event now. Edge taking on Damien Priest. This match was highly advertised for a couple of weeks now. And it was going to be Edge's return to Toronto to wrestle in Toronto for the first time in 10 years, which was crazy. I think they said 10, but it must have been more like 11. Hell, he retired in 2011, so it would have been 11 or 12 years, something like that. I thought they said 10, though. But it's been a long time since Edge has wrestled in Canada, and he's going to be taking on Damien Priest. Edge basically came out there as his old self with his old music, just shorter hair, so he's no longer Judgment Day Edge. Got a good reaction from the Toronto crowd. I was wondering a little bit because it was it was well documented on the biography last night, Edge's heel turn years ago after he came back from his neck surgery when he had that match in Toronto, I think against Eddie or somebody, and they booed the shit out of him in his own town, and that's when he decided to go heel. So I was hoping that the crowd would be kind to Edge tonight because he did call everybody inbred just a matter of weeks ago, so now he's going to have to come back as his old self, do his old entrance, whereas he did have really cool looking gear. It was all white, which looked great, and he was ready to rock in this match. Damien Priest looked good too. I was excited for this one, and it was a really good match. They beat the hell out of each other. You had Beth Phoenix at ringside, on the other side of the barricade watching this. Even when Edge was making his entrance, you could see the emotion in her, so it was a big deal for them to be a part of this. Plus, like I said, the documentary last night on Edge's career was very, very good, and they just started beating the hell out of each other. This match started at the bottom of the hour, so we had about 25 or 30 minutes to get this thing done with entrances, and it was really good. The power bomb through the table was crazy that Edge took. Damien Priest wound up missing a concerto, and Edge would use that chair to break off a piece of that metal that he likes to do and use it on Priest. I think he put Priest in the crossface, that old Roman Reigns spot where the bar went in the teeth. That was pretty cool. Priest is able to get control of the piece of metal off of the chair, and he bashes Edge in the head with it, but there's no referee, and there's no referee to see this. But Edge is able to survive that. I don't recall if the ref was missing or there's a bump or what the fuck happened there. Oh yeah, I think the ref took a bump, and then Priest hit Edge with that, and there was no ref to count it. In the end, we saw Edge, after this brutal brawl he had with Damien Priest, he hits a Canadian destroyer in Canada. 48, 50-year-old Edge, whatever the hell he is, hits a Canadian destroyer on Damien Priest, and then a spear for the win, and a really good hard-hitting match. Probably a big thrill for Damien Priest to have that main event against Edge and put him over like that. I'm hoping they return this match and do it again or something, where maybe Priest can beat Edge, but it sounds like Edge is on a mission to destroy the Judgment Day, and it seems like that's going to be tough to do if WWE's given Finn Balor some new music, and it still seems like they're continuing on with Judgment Day, and it's doing a really good job of helping getting Rhea Ripley over as well. So after Edge gets the victory, it looks like he goes to kill the leader of the Judgment Day, who I think is the leader in Damien Priest. He's definitely the best talker. And he's got Priest down for the one-man concerto, but Rhea Ripley comes in from behind and low blows Edge. Then Finn Balor shows up. The three of them beat the hell out of Edge. Finn Balor hits the coup de grace on Edge, and then they grab the chair to do some more damage to him, and that's when Beth Phoenix hops the barricade, grabs the chair, I think away from maybe Rhea Ripley, gets in the ring, and is able to back off. All three of them. They all back off from Edge, from Beth, retreat down the ramp, and Beth stands there consoling her husband after the victory there. So that makes you think that they might have Beth Phoenix become a part of this somehow. We've been speculating on that forever because Beth got involved in the Miz and Maurice stuff. So it's pretty likely that she would get involved here. And if they do want to do something at Clash at the Castle, whether it be a 6-person intergender, it could be like Edge, Ray, and Beth taking on Judgment Day and Rhea Ripley. I don't know where Dominic fits into all of that. Maybe he could be at ringside and get a little bit of revenge on Rhea Ripley since she's been whipping his ass every week. Maybe he's out there and she tries to do something sneaky and he stops her, and then she goes to punch him and he blocks it and shoves her down or something, and then the baby faces are able to get the win in the ring. But I'm really hoping that Dominic turns on his dad and says that Eddie was his real father and joins Judgment Day or something. He's got to, based on what is going on and all the hints they've been dropping. And, of course, him getting his ass kicked by a girl every week. So I think changes for Dominic are coming as well. So I don't know if he would fit into whatever they're going to try to do at Clash at the Castle, but it seems like they're going to have to do something, and they'll have to set that up next week. I believe this coming Sunday on A&E is the Rey Mysterio biography. So maybe if they were going to do a Dominic turn, they want to wait until that airs. That way Dominic doesn't turn on Ray, and then we have to watch Ray talk about how much he loves his son. It might be better timing-wise to wait until that documentary airs and then do some sort of a Dominic heel turn, which really at this point feels like it could legitimately happen at Clash at the Castle. So we will see if it's a multi-person match or if it's just one-on-one. I'd be perfectly fine with Beth Phoenix taking on Rhea Ripley one-on-one and putting Rhea over. I like Rhea Ripley, and she should be pushed strongly, and I think her association with this group is helping her. So I think if she does wind up facing Beth, it should be a situation where Beth doesn't win. When Trish came back and fought Charlotte at SummerSlam, Trish didn't win that. I don't think Beth Phoenix should be beating Rhea Ripley either. So we will see when that happens, if it happens, and how Beth Phoenix does wind up getting involved in this, whether it's a multi-person match, one-on-one, whatever, we don't know. We'll find out. Anywho. Yeah, Dominic is going to turn at Castlevania. I feel it too. Sami Zayn was on Raw off air. Interesting. Yes, 12 years since Edge wrestled in Toronto. Yeah, it would have been 2010 sometime, I guess, then, right? Wow. Maybe that's what I'm getting confused. They were probably saying 2010, and in my head I was thinking 10 years or something. That might have been it. I still think Cody. Yeah, you don't have to put that in 5 times rarely even. But yeah, when Cody comes back, I'm not too concerned about Cody. I think that Vince's vision for Cody and Triple H's vision for Cody should be probably pretty similar because Triple H loved Dusty Rhodes as well. Triple H is a big, he's very mindful of wrestling history. He always appreciates the history. He knows the history. And I loved the idea of Cody talking about the belt that his dad never won, the belt that he still owns, that he was able to get possession of and owns and has. And if Cody were to win the WWE title somehow, beat Roman Reigns, win the Rumble, win at WrestleMania, do something like that, win the title, have this big glorious moment, this big moment on Raw where he can celebrate and tribute his father, maybe even bringing back or bringing out the old belt that he now owns and showing it off to the audience, maybe even wearing it as the official belt for a couple of months or something, or even better yet, since Cody back in the day brought back the classic IC title, what if Cody brought back the Winged Eagle title? I would love that. I never believed that the Winged Eagle title has any chance of ever coming back to WWE, but if it ever did, I think with Cody being champion and Triple H being in charge is really the best chance that you could ever ask for that even being a reality. If it doesn't happen in a situation like that, it's probably never going to happen. So I am really excited in that regard for Cody. And I still think that regardless of if he smashed a throne on AEW or not, with him, there's a lot that Triple H and Vince, I'm sure, differ on creatively. But I would think, my gut tells me, they probably have a similar vision for Cody because it's, as long as it's good, that's what Triple H isn't outwardly trying to book shit opposite of Vince. I think he's just trying to book shit in a good way. And I liked what they were doing with Cody. I had no issue with what they were doing with Cody. I thought he came in at WrestleMania in one of the best ways possible. That Hell in the Cell match with Seth really, gave Cody a lot of respect from the eyes of the fans. And I hated that he got injured. But when he comes back, I think he should be brought back in a really big way and be a really big deal because Cody is. And I think winning the title, I don't think Triple H would really stand in the way of that unless when Cody comes back, if they've got some really hot storyline or angles going on at the top and there's just no room. Because you don't want to shoehorn him in. I feel like they did that with Triple H in 2002 when he came back. Oh, he's back. Let's have him win the Royal Rumble and win the title. I'm like, well, chill out. Hold on. You got a lot of other stuff going on. So you're just like sticking him in there. Now he's going to face Jericho when Triple H probably should be facing Austin based on the 2-man power trip from the previous year and the injury and all of that. That's the match that should happen. So I think with Cody, if there is major stuff going on with the title and there's a really fun, compelling issue there, don't just stick Cody in the middle of it. Let him come back, but, pick your spot. But Royal Rumble just seems like the place for Cody. You don't want WWE to be too predictable, but I think if Cody came back in the Rumble and won it and then went on to win the title at WrestleMania, that would be 3 or 4 months of very predictable outcomes that we would be seeing. But I think WWE predictable number one is not always bad, but I also think that WWE could take some twists and turns along that road to at least not make it overwhelmingly predictable, you know what I mean? So we will see what happens to Cody, but I think Cody's going to be just fine when he comes back. Yeah, the Edge doc where I think he hit Jose Estrada in that match when he debuted. They had one clip of there. I'm convinced it was the show that I was at because I saw Edge wrestle one of his first or second dark matches in WWE. I had bad seats for the show, and I was up a level, and he came out with no music. So they have somebody in the ring. I forget who he was even wrestling, but from my seat, I see this long blonde-haired guy walking down the ramp with no music. And from where I was sitting, I thought it was Chris Jericho. I'm like, I was like, Jericho, but he was like a champion in WCW at the time. But my heart like jumped. I'm like, is that Jericho? And then I realized it wasn't Jericho. Didn't know who it was. Some blonde-haired kid. Turned out to be pretty good. But one of those clips from his dark match, I swear, was the show that I was at. I just don't recall what city or when. I just know it was sometime in '98 when I saw that go down. But yeah, and then in his very first televised match, he does the spot over the top rope, and his leg comes down and hits Jose Estrada in the head, who I think was a part of the Bariquas at that time, and he had to be stretchered out. And that is rough to have to go through that on your very first match. I mean, you got to think about somebody like Ridge Holland too, who's responsible for what happened to Big E, or partly responsible anyway, and what that can kind of do to you mentally. But the biography was really good, and it was perfect timing too, because we had just watched SummerSlam 2000 last night together, which had the big TLC match with Edge and Christian and the Hardys and the Dudleys, and all of that stuff was really well chronicled in the biography as well. I have not watched Cena and Edge's Rivals doc, but we are going to watch that tonight. So as soon as we're done streaming here, I'm going to take it easy, have some dinner, and probably kick back and watch that. But I have not seen it yet. But yeah, Edge's documentary, they've all been really good. So far, this one, and I think Kurt Angle, I've really liked this time around. They've been incredible. All these biographies are good and great and done real well. But, with a lot of the stuff, it's good for, somebody like my girlfriend Elizabeth, who hasn't seen all of the documentaries like I have, all the WWE DVDs, haven't heard these stories retold over and over. It's great for them, and it's great for the audience that A&E reaches, that they can tell these stories. But, sometimes you're like, how many more times can they tell this story? Because they've told some of these stories so many times that you're starting to notice inconsistencies. And of course, WWE a lot of times rewrites their own history. Eric Bischoff continues to push the lie that we all is proven to be untrue, saying that he was in the ring on live TV cutting a promo with Hogan when DX invaded, when he was not. It was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. He was probably having a cheeseburger and catering, and that's all that was going on when DX invaded. Little things like that, and there are inconsistencies, but overall, they're still really well done. And, we've seen the Edge story told before. I think he's got at least 2 DVDs, Edge, both really well done documentaries on Edge, where they, rehash a lot about, or where they talk a lot about what they rehashed on the biography, his relationship with his mom and attending WrestleMania 6, and the essay that got him a free wrestling training, and Christian dragging his feet and joining him kind of late, and the Brood and all that stuff. I guess they left out a couple of things too. They didn't really go into detail on the Lita and Matt Hardy stuff because, at this point, really, why would you? But they talked about his retirement a lot and how sad that situation was, and him trying to adjust to life without wrestling. And it was really interesting kind of what brought him back. And that is because a story that I mentioned that earlier, a story that I missed yesterday, is that I guess WWE, I don't know if this is directly Triple H doing this or if it's WWE, but they have lifted the ban, I guess, on talent streaming on YouTube or Twitch, or having third-party websites of any kind, cameos, that type of stuff. And that's really good. And I know that among the Twitch streamers and the YouTubers, that Sheamus had like a YouTube workout show or something like that. And when they showed the clip on the biography last night of Sheamus and Edge mountain biking, Asheville is one of the best places for mountain biking. Asheville, North Carolina, for real. They were biking, I think, in the mountains of Asheville, and Edge fell off his bike, took a big spill, and they're like, holy shit, are you all right? And he goes, yeah, I think I am. I think I'm really okay. And he talked about that on the biography, that was the moment that made him realize, well, I just took a bump, and I'm fine. Maybe I can take more bumps. Without him eating shit on the mountain bike in Asheville with Sheamus, Edge might not be in the ring right now. And I find that interesting because I think all that footage was on Sheamus's YouTube channel that I think he now has regained access to. So that's really good news as well, because that was one of the more frustrating frustrating things that WWE did because it's so shitty, and it's just so petty and so awful. Oh, if you're going to be on YouTube, turn control over to us so we can make money and give you a little cut. And then if you keep it, they take it out of your downside guarantee or just something fucked up. This company pulling in billions of dollars from Fox, NBC Universal, Saudi Arabia, and they're going to nickel and dime their talent over this stupid shit. It's so infuriating. So to read that story was really great. It's a restriction that never should have been handed down in the first place. These are independent contractors, and I can understand saying you can't use your WWE name. I'll accept that, no problem. I can't use my WWE name, fine. It's not what it's about. It's the fact that I like to do this. I like to engage with an audience and talk to them and chat to them. It's great for a lot of the talent to be able to do that. And for talent that likes to spend their free time streaming with fans instead of drinking and doing drugs at bars, I don't understand why you would deter this behavior at all. So props to Triple H for reversing that ridiculous decision and allow these people to live their fucking lives, because that is another thing that will and could possibly affect contract decisions when it comes to a wrestler deciding where they want to go. Well, Tony Khan will let me stream anything I want and won't take a dime of it, but these fuckers, want to control everything about me, so I'm going to go where I have more freedom. Triple H is a good move for Triple H to do, because there are plenty of people, and most people these days understand online and understand streaming and stuff, and a lot of people do it. And if you take that away, you're already on the road a ton. You got this crazy fucking job. All you want to do is come to your house during your free time and do what you enjoy, and now the company's telling you you can't do that either. I don't even know if I would be able to contain my anger. I'd probably show up to TV and get fucking fired if that happened to me. If they were trying to take something away from me that I loved to do on my own time that had nothing to do with them at all, I'd be pissed. I'd be really, really, really pissed. And that whole entire situation has always rubbed me the wrong way. So the fact that that has now been restored, talent is allowed to do that in WWE, is wonderful. So we'll keep our eye on how far that extends, if it's just YouTube and Twitch, or if it's just one of them, if it just pertains to gaming, or if Cameo is excluded in this, or OnlyFans, or whatever the fuck else these wrestlers might be doing. But that's good news that they might actually be able to resume doing that again, because they should. Bring Apollo Crews back to the main roster. That's right. I forgot he went back down to NXT. I felt like they were on the right track with him. I didn't like the fake accent too much, but, he did look like a badass there as that, Nigerian warrior, and he had Aziz with him or whatever. I thought it was a good-looking presentation. I think the fake accent was a little weird, but he looked good, and he looked like a badass. And he's a guy that shouldn't require too much thought in terms of how to get him. Just look at him. I would just hate that if you could look like Apollo Crews and you go to a promotion, they can't figure out what to do with you when you look like that. That's on WWE. Deshaun Robinson, appreciate $2 more from you, dude. We could be seeing the end of Edge soon. Yeah, we might be seeing the end of Edge soon. He has mentioned that the end is in sight, and when he said years ago that he wanted to retire at age 40, and he had to retire before then, this time now is kind of making up for those 3 years that he got. So this entire run by Edge, based on the theme and what was talked about last night in the biography, this is mostly about him being able to go out on his own terms, and how he had to live for a decade with that skin-crawling feeling that you didn't get closure on your career the way you wanted to. And the fact that Edge has a second chance to do this now and possibly put over some people on his way out, it's going to be bittersweet. I'm excited and going to be sad to see the end of Edge, but we all knew when he came back in 2020 that he wasn't coming back for a 10-year run. This might be 3 years and he might be gone, and that could be the case. So we'll see what they try to build to here. Edge has already been back, won a Royal Rumble, main evented a WrestleMania. He's done a lot. He's never won a championship again, which we all thought he might. I'm starting to think that might not be in the cards for him. I thought for sure Edge could have a quick little 2-month nostalgia run with the WWE title, but I'm not totally sure if that's in the works for him. He got to retire as champion once before. There's really no reason to do that again. So maybe he has some exit program here where he works with somebody between now and perhaps has a send-off at WrestleMania or something. I'd love that. I'd love for Edge to have his final match at WrestleMania, but this time knowing that it's your final match, because back in at 27 in Atlanta, he didn't know going into that was going to be his final match. It wasn't until after, when he saw the doctors and he had a few other issues and they said, that's it, you're done. He could do it again here. He could have another opening match, because didn't Alberto and Edge open that year, right? Have an opening match in LA. I'll be there. Oh my God, guys. If I could be in the attendance to see Edge's last match, the very same guy I met on the side of the road after he'd been in the company for less than a year, when a big 18-wheeler overturned on the highway, and we jump out to see if anybody needs any help, and Chris Jericho and Edge and Christian walk up on us and be like, what's up, dudes? He was like a year in at that point. Such a nice dude. Watched him at the TLC match at SummerSlam live. Saw him in countless amounts of live event matches in person, and then of course he had to leave for a decade, coming back. If I got to be at WrestleMania for his retirement match, it would be great. And I think with Edge, he is a guy that should have an actual retirement match. That should be a thing he does, and go into that match knowing that it's the end, because I think that would be good for him and that would be good for us, the fans. So who knows when that could be, if it would be quicker than WrestleMania, maybe at the end of the year, maybe at the Royal Rumble where he made his debut 3 years before, or maybe they do it at WrestleMania. I think it would be fun to have that happen at WrestleMania again, like it did at 27, only this time you do it at 39. You pick the right opponent for him to open with. You open the show. He has a nice send-off. You get it out of the way right away, and start off the show like that, and just kind of right the wrong from WrestleMania 27, 12 years prior. But we'll see. The end of Edge in the future is probably something we're all going to have to deal with. Check your Twitter, says Deshaun. Why? Is there some specific reason why you're saying we might see the end of Edge? Well, let me look it up. Oh, okay. So after Raw goes off the air, this is according to WrestleOps. Well, not according to them. There's a video. Audrey Moreau posts the video, live cam footage of Edge after the show, saying he wants to have his final match next August in 2023 in Toronto, Canada. We need to have a final match for Edge. Toronto would be a perfect place. August of 2023, is there any talk of, do we have a venue for SummerSlam next year? We don't, right? I mean, if SummerSlam goes back to New York, or if SummerSlam goes to Toronto, maybe the night after SummerSlam he retires, or it can just be a random Raw in August, or a random pay-per-view in August in Canada. That must mean there's a show. Let's hear what he said. Let's listen to Edge real quick. Sorry, bud. Hey, bud. So he's putting Damien Priest over. You guys might be able to hear this. I don't know. One more. That makes me happy that we get one more year of Edge. I can live with one more year of Edge. In a perfect world, we all say goodbye to each other that night. We love you too, Edge. You're a North Kakilakian now, Edge. Sorry. You can't be Canadian. We're claiming you. Go Wings. Go Leafs. What you talking about, Edge? Go Wings. So, yeah, Edge cut a promo. This is only for the live event crowd, so it could amount to nothing a year from now. But alluded to the fact that the next time WWE hits Toronto, which usually happens in August every year, in a perfect world, that's where he would ideally like us all to say goodbye to each other. And I think that's beautiful. I hope it happens. I hope that they make some sort of a special night for him, make some sort of a special opponent. You've got a whole year to get this done. when Deshaun chimed in with a super chat saying we might be seeing the end of Edge, I'm thinking, oh, it might be over in December or WrestleMania. We get a whole nother year of Edge. He can do some fun stuff, and setting himself up for some sort of a farewell next August in Toronto would be absolutely amazing, whether it be a Raw, a SmackDown, a pay-per-view, or whatever. Next time they're there, it should be all about Edge, and I hope it is. So that's great. SummerSlam is staying in Nashville next year. No kidding, Zane. So they're going to be going back to that. They have done that before, right? Where SummerSlams have done the same city several times. They did New York and LA a bunch of times. Toronto too, right? But they only spent one time in Vegas. Now it's Nashville. And apparently Nashville was a great place. Everybody said good things about Nashville. I've never been to Nashville. Closest I've been there, I camped in the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee one time, but I've never been into any cities in that area. So maybe next year we can make a trip out to Nashville for SummerSlam. So, yeah, we got a little bit of news coming out of WWE Raw as well as it pertains to Edge. In a perfect world, he would like to retire 1 year from now, next time WWE turns up in Toronto, which I thought WWE went to Toronto more than once a year. But he's kind of got his eyes set on next August, so we will see if that amounts to anything and if that actually comes to fruition or not. All I want for Edge as a wrestling fan is for him to get closure, because we all know what that's like in terms of certain parts of your life. Closure helps, and if you don't get closure, it can eat at you, and none of us want that for Edge. So hopefully Edge can have a nice, good, healthy next year, next 12 months, work with some good people, and maybe come full circle next year in Toronto and close the book on what's been one hell of a run for him. So best of luck to Edge. We love you on this channel. Edge has always been one of our favorites here. You guys know that. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here now. It has been a long weekend of streaming. Of course, all of the problems we had on Saturday, they had to work out. Double duty yesterday, up here for the Raw review. I'm ready to relax a little bit, but do not forget, Wednesday, we are going to be here. Be here. The link is already up on the channel. Save it for Wednesday. We are going to watch Dynamite together and find out what the hell is going to happen between CM Punk and Jon Moxley and Tony Khan and Hangman Page and AEW and MJF and the Hamburglar. We're going to find all that out on Wednesday. I'm really, really looking forward to it. So that is the next time we are all going to be together. Thank you again for a really great weekend. Make sure you please hit the thumbs up out the door, since tonight was a little bit of a low audience. And if you're not a subscriber, please do. And if you're not a member, become one. And I will catch you guys in 48